Imagine being asked to replace Moses, the man who confronted Pharaoh, divided the sea, and led an entire nation. When Moses died, an entire generation looked toward Joshua and wondered, could this man really lead them? But Joshua's leadership did not begin when Moses died. It began decades earlier, when Joshua was simply Moses' assistant. Before Joshua commanded armies, he learned to serve. Before he gave orders, he learned to listen. Joshua was the son of Nun, from the tribe of Ephraim, born into the generation that would witness Israel's extraordinary journey. His original name was Hoshea. Moses called him Joshua, a name connected with the Lord's salvation. Joshua became closely associated with Moses, learning leadership from the greatest leader Israel had known. Joshua remained near the tent of meeting, learning that Israel's greatest strength was not military power, but the presence of God. Then danger came. Amalek attacked Israel, and Moses gave Joshua his first major military responsibility. Joshua was told to choose men and lead them into battle while Moses stood above the valley. But Joshua soon discovered something important. Israel's victory depended on more than Joshua's ability. The battle taught Joshua that leadership, strategy, and courage must remain dependent on God. Joshua later accompanied Moses toward Mount Sinai, stepping closer to moments few Israelites would ever witness. While Moses received God's instructions, Joshua remained nearby, learning through observation and patience. Joshua also witnessed Israel's terrible failure with the golden calf, a lesson about how quickly people can forget God. Years later, Israel reached the edge of Canaan.
It is an exceedingly good land.
12 spies were chosen to investigate the land. Joshua entered the land and saw exactly what God had promised. Extraordinary abundance, but also powerful cities. 10 spies saw the danger and became terrified. Joshua and Caleb saw the same danger, but remembered God's promise. The majority spread fear through Israel, saying the land could not be conquered. Joshua and Caleb pleaded with Israel, "Do not rebel. Trust the Lord. His promise is greater than the obstacle." Israel refused to believe. That generation would wander in the wilderness, but Joshua and Caleb would live to enter the land. Then came decades of waiting. Joshua watched an entire generation disappear while the promise remained ahead. Joshua learned that faith does not always remove the waiting season. Sometimes faith gives you strength to survive it. Then God commanded Moses to appoint Joshua as his successor, the man who would lead Israel after him. Moses publicly commissioned Joshua, giving him authority before Eleazar and the entire congregation. Then Moses died. The leader Joshua had followed for decades was gone, and the responsibility now rested on him. God spoke to Joshua and gave him the command that would define his leadership: be strong and courageous. The command was not confidence in Joshua's strength. It was confidence that God would remain with him. Joshua immediately organized the people. After 40 years of wandering, Israel was finally preparing to cross into Canaan. Before crossing the Jordan, Joshua secretly sent 2 spies into Jericho to investigate the city. Jericho was heavily fortified, but the spies entered the city and found unexpected help. Rahab hid the spies and revealed that Jericho had heard what the Lord had done for Israel. Rahab was afraid of what was coming, but she chose to trust the God whose work she had heard about. Rahab helped the spies escape and asked them to protect her family when Israel came. Israel reached the Jordan, but the river was overflowing. There seemed to be no path forward. God commanded the priests to step into the river. They obeyed before the way was visible. Then the water stopped. The impossible river became a pathway, and Israel crossed on dry ground. Joshua commanded 12 stones to be carried from the river as a memorial for future generations. Joshua understood that miracles must be remembered, because what one generation forgets can disappear from the next. Before Jericho, Joshua encountered a mysterious figure holding a drawn sword. Joshua asked,
"Are you for us?
Are you for us?
No,
Or for our enemies?"
but I am the commander of
The answer
army of
challenged his
Lord.
entire understanding of leadership. Joshua was told that he stood on holy ground.
Take off your sandals.
Before leading
for
God's
this
army,
is holy ground.
he needed to remember who the true commander was. Jericho stood before Israel like an impossible wall. But God had already given Joshua the strategy. Israel would march around the city, carry the ark, remain silent, and wait for God's appointed moment. Day after day, Israel marched around Jericho. To human eyes, nothing seemed to be happening. Then came the final day. The people marched, the priests sounded the trumpets, and Joshua waited for the command. The walls collapsed. Joshua had learned that obedience can accomplish what human strength cannot. After Jericho, Joshua turned toward a smaller city called Ai, expecting another victory. But Ai was different. Israel was suddenly defeated, and Joshua could not understand why. Joshua fell before God and asked why Israel had been defeated. The answer revealed a hidden problem. Achan had secretly taken devoted objects from Jericho. Hidden disobedience had produced public consequences. Joshua learned that a leader cannot judge the health of a community only by what appears on the surface. After dealing with the sin, Joshua returned to Ai, not with careless confidence, but with renewed obedience. This time, Joshua followed God's strategy, and Ai fell. Failure had become a lesson instead of the end. Joshua then built an altar and publicly read God's law, reminding Israel that conquest was never more important than covenant. Then came one of Joshua's most revealing mistakes. The Gibeonites disguised themselves as travelers from a distant land. Joshua examined their evidence and made a covenant with them. But Scripture says they did not ask counsel from the Lord. The truth was discovered later. Joshua's mistake revealed a painful lesson. Yesterday's victory cannot replace today's dependence on God. When 5 Amorite kings attacked Gibeon, Joshua faced another enormous challenge. Joshua marched through the night to defend Gibeon, refusing to abandon those under Israel's covenant. The battle intensified, and Joshua called upon God for help as Israel pursued victory. Joshua 10 describes an extraordinary day when the sun and moon stood still during Israel's victory. Joshua continued the campaign through southern Canaan, bringing city after city under Israelite control. The northern kings formed another coalition. Joshua faced them with the same confidence in God's promise. The northern campaign ended with the defeat of King Jabin's coalition, and Joshua's major campaigns were complete. The land that once seemed unreachable was now before Israel. But Joshua's mission was far from finished. Joshua now had to divide the land among Israel's tribes, transforming military victory into a functioning nation. Then Caleb came to Joshua. Decades earlier, they had stood together when everyone else was afraid. Joshua honored Caleb's faithfulness and gave him Hebron, proving that faithful people should never be forgotten. Joshua also established cities of refuge, creating places of protection for those involved in accidental deaths. The Levites received designated cities throughout Israel, helping establish worship and spiritual service across the nation. Joshua's first great strength was courage, not the absence of fear, but obedience, despite fear. His faith allowed him to see God's promise as greater than the obstacles standing in front of him. Joshua was also loyal. For decades he served Moses without constantly competing for his position. His discipline allowed him to obey detailed instructions, even when God's strategy did not make immediate sense. Joshua eventually learned to lead armies, organize people, administer territory, and teach Israel God's covenant. But Joshua was not perfect. His mistake with the Gibeonites revealed that even experienced leaders can act without seeking God's counsel. After Ai, Joshua experienced deep anguish. Even strong leaders can become overwhelmed by failure. His story warns us that yesterday's success can never replace today's dependence on God. The first hidden lesson is simple. God often prepares people in private long before he places them in public. Joshua's courage was rooted not in himself, but in God's presence. That is why be strong and courageous mattered. The second hidden warning is that success can become dangerous when it makes us stop asking for wisdom. Joshua also understood the power of remembrance. What God has done must be deliberately passed from one generation to another. Years passed, and Joshua became old. The warrior was now an elder preparing Israel for life without him. Joshua warned Israel not to forget God or compromise with the nations surrounding them. At Shechem, Joshua gathered the nation and retold the story of God's faithfulness, from Abraham to the conquest of Canaan. Then Joshua gave Israel a choice. Whom would they serve? The gods around them or the Lord? Joshua made his own decision unmistakable. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. The assistant became a warrior. The spy became a leader. The conqueror became an elder. And through every season, Joshua kept choosing faithfulness. Joshua's greatest legacy was not the land he conquered, but the God he remained faithful to. Your story is still being written. Choose faithfulness. If Joshua's story revealed something you had never noticed before, subscribe to Bible Uncovered. More hidden stories, deeper lessons, and powerful Bible characters are coming next.
Bible Uncovered.